So it's Mr. $1 million a month offers. How are you?
How are you, Zach? Good, man. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Beauty.
Um, tell me about those. I remember seeing all of the $1 million a month offers on X. How
I
did that
used
start?
to I used to run that a lot. Well, the offer that is kind of my business now is helping people raise money. I figured out those economics as well as uh, the supply and demand of the market, such that people were willing to pay a large price for what I was doing, and there's a lot of money to be made on the back end, and I really like those economics. I think it's a good way to run a business and a way to run a business in a market that's very likely to pay you a lot of money with the same amount of effort you're going to put in to make a lot less money, I guess, is the thought process. And so the idea was, how many of these kinds of businesses can be run with the same, rather than just
Mm,
continually give people, hey, you should just also do what I'm doing. It's like, you don't have to do what I'm doing. These
mm,
same market principles where there's a limited amount of supply, there's a huge amount of demand for your services in the market, and the average ticket for everything in the market is high, exists across, obviously I did it for 31 days straight. So at least 31 different offers it applies to, So that was kind of the whole point it was two parts. It was like, one, how many of these can I come up with?
mm.
And then two, how many markets does this exist in? And the funny thing is, I'll get cold emails from people now that are people running the offers that I
Haha,
I
no
put
way.
out there. Yeah.
That's funny.
So like I had one for corporate retreats where you would go to hotels and luxury hotels and stuff and uh, offer them to get corporate businesses to come and do retreats there, and receive
Mm,
probably received two or three emails from different hotels now offering,
no way.
hey, do you want to come and do a retreat here? Which is good because I mean the person landed the client already.
Yep, that's really cool. Okay, what was the most popular offer then? Or like what went most viral?
Most viral was brokering oil and gas for
No
sure.
way.
People love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a tough market though. Like commodities as a whole is a good market, and nobody
Hmm.
really does it. And
Hmm.
the same economics of my current, of helping people raise money, that same like, pay an upfront fee. This will help, pay for the team and the term of the engagement, and then your
Hmm.
real money is made when you close the deal.
Give me
Like,
an example with commodities then. Like how does like explain it in
dude, the
simple
the
agency
biggest one,
terms.
okay, the biggest one I would say right now that nobody's touching is lumber. Like,
Okay.
it's hard to explain in non-agency term or in agency terms, but I'll do my best. So just you're gonna want to, I guess people are gonna want to listen and try and keep up. But effectively, um, lumber right now, there's kind of like the lumber mills. They sell to a wholesaler, and that
Hmm.
wholesaler sells to construction companies, whoever's buying lumber, right?
Sure.
Right now, pretty much globally, but for certain in North America, the lumber mills and the guys who actually like the traders of lumber, they
Hmm.
mostly just sell. They pretty much 100% just sell to wholesale, and so that's
Yeah.
like a 2 or 3% margin. So they're
Right.
just doing crazy volume to wholesalers, and then the
Right.
wholesalers are going down here and selling to, uh, you know, whatever the retail market for lumber is, like other
Hmm.
businesses, B2B market for lumber. And they're selling
Hmm.
at about a 17 to 20% clip. And
Mm.
so if you can cut out this wholesaler portion of it and go to
Hmm.
lumber guys and say, hey, I can help you, instead of making 2 or 3% from the mill,
Sell direct.
I can help you sell direct, and you
Hmm.
can make, maybe you undercut the wholesaler so you're at 14, 15%. I can help you
Hmm.
do that spread. So I can 6 or 7x the amount you're making per order that you're currently
Mm.
making. And that's like, nobody's doing that.
Hmm.
Nobody is getting anywhere near it. And it would take cold emails to lumber mills, and then cold emails to, construction site or construction companies, developers, whoever the fuck
Mm.
else is using wood. whatever
Mm-hmm.
else wood is being used in.
Mm,
And that's like a really obvious one to me that
mm,
I'm shocked people aren't doing. But there's tons of commodities like that. There's like uranium would be an interesting market to get in. Okay, maybe that's too far, uranium. But don't go selling nuclear shit. Okay, bad example. Like gold, maybe. But
sure.
the one problem with commodities is that like the popular ones, gold and oil, are full of spacers, full
Mm,
to the brim with spacers. It's very hard to tell who's real and who's not real in gold, diamond, oil and gas when
gotcha.
you're doing those massive transactions. That's kind of the drawback.
Okay. So, how do you come across these offers in the first place? Because I think most people starting agencies, they run ads for another sort of online business, and that's like a very typical route. That's what's taught. That's what people understand. That's what makes sense, I guess, to beginners coming into the space. So, how did you come across those offers, or how did you get exposed to that in the first place?
Um, I guess when I first started, like I was running normal agency like everybody else, and then
Hmm.
I had friends that were running like Google ads, Google ads to landing pages for publicly traded companies, and so
Mm,
that's like they were like starting to get like it's like you're almost there, but they came
hmm,
from like the PR, investor relations and public relations world rather than from like a pure marketing play. But
hmm.
that like opened my eyes when I first met them. And this is probably 4 or 5 years ago. And then and then I kind of realized like, oh, this is a big market, um, and they have a lot of money. Like these guys are, they're fucking every time it's a publicly traded company, the company's worth at least whatever $10 million at kind of at
Hmm.
minimum. So they've got money to throw around. Um,
Mm,
and so if I can solve their problems, then it's going to work well. And then
mm.
I kept trying to just identify things in the market like that.
So
I
it came
guess
primarily from finding like very qualified companies, it sounds like,
yeah,
or working backwards from who would pay you a lot more than like a $2,000 a month retainer,
that more
and
so.
then discovering what those companies are, and then trying to
Yeah.
figure out how to make a service for
Yeah. Deliver value to them. That's,
them.
even 1/3 or 1/5 of that outcome value for the client is still a large
Hmm.
amount of money, you know?
Hmm. Hmm. So I think there'll be a lot of people in like the 0 to 100K a month range. Well, there are a lot, like a majority of people that will listen to this are in that range right now. Um, what's your advice to them when it comes to formulating an offer itself?
Guys that are in 0 to 100, I think you need to kind of analyze what's going on in your business. And I say that to say, like, a lot of guys between 0 and 100, like, the vast majority of the time, they're in the wrong vehicle. So
Mm,
I'd say probably 80% of the time, 90% of the time, they're in the wrong vehicle. And then the other 10, 20% of the time is like, you don't know how to scale this to 100 grand.
sure. Okay.
So my
So
thought
what does
process
changing vehicles
usually,
look like?
yeah, it's asking yourself what market has high demand for, uh, you know, I guess the starting point is like what market doesn't have a lot of agencies in it.
Hmm.
There's no supply or extremely limited supply. You're the only one playing in that market.
Hmm.
There's some sort of gap that in like communication where you can step in there and I guess like broker communication between two parties easily on
Hmm.
the internet. And
Hmm.
then three, there's got to be just like average high tickets effectively. The end outcome for this model needs to be 200,000, $500,000 plus.
Hmm.
Um,
And LTV from the client.
yeah,
Yeah.
and um, and value driven for the client. What is the client's outcome
Hmm.
from your services? Like one
And how
sale
frequently?
should
Like,
be,
is that 500K a month? Is that
no,
yearly
per unit.
per unit? Cool. Okay. So it's specifically looking at like a lot more valuable units
Correct.
itself.
Correct.
Cool.
And so like guys that are running, like a lot of guys run legal, like they'll run ads for like the law billboards you see on buses and stuff where it's
Hmm.
did you get in an accident recently? Like for accident lawyers, a lot of guys will run those kinds of ads. And my
Hmm.
contention would be like, okay, if you do the work and you get this guy a client, that end client at maximum might be 25, 50 grand in the lawyer's pocket, right?
Right.
If you were to figure out a way to help like big corporate New York lawyers reach new clients that are all Fortune 500 companies, well, each of those clients is going to, per unit, now you're in the millions.
Mm.
And so, like, the amount of work that you're going to have to do for both of them is the same. The channel
Hmm.
might be different. The channel, in fact,
Hmm.
is different. You and I both know.
Hmm.
But the amount of money that they're going to make is way more, and the amount of effort is
So let's go back in time for a second. What was the first agency service that you ever offered or ran?
first agency service I ever offered was Instagram growth from uh, from theme
Cool.
pages and meme pages.
And how did you come across that?
My buddy
How
called
did
me
you
one
enter the
day.
world of it,
Yeah,
of online business?
but
Yeah.
my buddy called me one day and he was like, "Hey, uh, he was during COVID. He was sitting around and he was like, "Hey, I think I figured out how to like build meme pages." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And he was like, "Yeah, dude, I'm at like 60K followers and it's been like 3 days, 4 days. It's insane." And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of nuts. Like, how's that happening?" He starts kind of explaining it to me, and
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, this seems like a good opportunity. And I like ran little small businesses before, and I was like, cool. And then I tried to just cold dial people until I got a client. We went
Hmm.
into an in-person meeting. It went okay. Kind of, anyways, the guy didn't sign up. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this cold calling thing sucks, dude. Like, I'm going to have to cold call so many businesses. I was sitting down and just cranking out like 100 cold calls. And then eventually, uh, my buddy Lewis was like, yo, uh, he'd been running ads. He'd been running like an ads agency for HVAC. And he was like,
Hmm.
hey, I think that you should try and run ads for what you're doing. So we went, we filmed ads, put those ads up, and then never turned them off. And they
Mm.
just started spitting up cash. I put $700 in the first week and came out the first week with $1,400, and that was that.
There you go. Found a model that worked. Cool.
Yeah.
So, okay. And then what was your arc after that? How did things progress?
Uh, After that, we ran that for a really long time. I got clients for that service. One of my clients for that service was the Kardashians jeweler.
Hmm.
Um, or I guess a jeweler that did jewelry for the Kardashians, whatever.
Hmm.
And he was trying to grow really, really aggressively. And like the theme pages and the meme pages just were not getting it done for this guy. Like this guy wanted millions of followers or like
Hmm.
real authentic followers now, tomorrow, as quickly as humanly possible. And so I built out a model where
That's an
we
everyone.
would, doesn't everybody, but he wanted it like now. And I was like,
Cool.
okay,
Yeah.
let me fucking figure this out. And he was like my biggest client at the time, so I was trying to tend to him. So basically, what I did was I started modeling out like, okay, how many influencers would it take to reach 100,000 followers,
Hmm.
per month or per week or whatever? How many people are going to have to see the information in order for us to get that many followers? And how much is it going to cost to get them? And how much we were sending, like, the idea was we'll send them a free chain plus cash. How much is this
Hmm.
going to cost? All that. And
Yeah.
so I had all the numbers, and then I went to him, pitched it, and he was like, this is way too much money. No. I was like, oh. Then I met those guys that were doing SEO to ads,
Yeah.
Google ads to like landing pages,
Hmm.
and they're in finance. And Wall Street
Hmm.
bets had recently happened, and I started just kind of putting two and two together and being like, huh, I think that we could probably run influencer marketing. I was, involved in discords and stuff like that. We could run trading discords. We could go on Reddit. We could do all these things
Hmm.
for publicly traded companies. And so I basically, that was the idea. I already
Hmm.
had the model of like here's how many people would need to be reached in order for somebody to
Hmm.
convert into a customer and or follower. So
Hmm.
I just kind of twisted all those numbers and sat down with the Google Ads guys and we went out together. And then
So hang on. So
just
you were working with like this celebrity jeweler and your other clients at the time on theme pages. You realized what could be done with influencer marketing. You had put services together, and then you met someone that worked with public companies. And then as a result, you were like, "Hey, these are way better customers. I should go after them instead."
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I was still running the other business. Like the ads were
Okay.
still running for the other
Yeah.
business, and I was just
Yeah.
like, I had a hunch that this would work, but in order for us to get
Yeah.
it done, we needed like, $250,000 for this to be something that actually got pulled off.
Right.
So it was always kind of like yeah, maybe this happens. Let's put it all together. I'll work really hard on it, but who's to say this is going to happen?
Right.
Um, and then I found somebody who did know people in the markets that was older than both myself and the guys that I was kind of partnering up with. And he
Mm.
eventually brought us a client. And so he
Mm.
went out and just found people, and I gave him like 10% of the deal or whatever. And sure enough, we got like $250,000 for 2 months of work. And I think that was when like my whole paradigm was just like, like just totally shifted because
Right.
I'd made like 130 grand that year in revenue up until
Right.
that point. Like,
Right.
and then you see 250K for 2 months of work in revenue, and you're like, whoa, wait a second. Clearly I'm doing something wrong.
Sick. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that then led to you kind of changing how you do business entirely.
Yeah. And then I did that for a while, for like a year and a half. And then 2022, I realized there's like a liquidity crunch. And so I went to the market saying, hey, we can cold email people to help you raise money. And then
Mm.
snowballed into what we've got today, which is like a full investment bank. I'm licensed in Canada and the States. I've got a number of people on my team that are licensed in Canada and the States, people that used to work at JP Morgan, HSBC, LDC, all that good stuff.
Mm.
Work for me with, at Zastre and Co. and Savvy Capital. And yeah, it snowballed into like having a full investment bank. I have a, holding company, which guys will call like a family office. I don't feel like I've earned the family office title, but
What
if
do you
you
need?
talk to guys,
What qualifies
nothing.
to
It
like
it is
to
it is
like
a family.
use the family office title?
In my mind, it's significantly more money, but like we have advisors on our
What's that threshold? Like how
team.
much money, how much liquid cash do you need in order to be able to
If
call
you're
it a family
managing like
office?
if you're managing like 10 million bucks, I feel like then it's fair. But these guys, like there's Swiss bankers on my advisory board
Mhm.
who call what I have a family office, even
Right,
though it's not that. So
right. You're the family, and there's no office.
yes, and there's no office. Yes, correct. But yeah, so it's all kind of snowballed into what is
Very
today.
cool. What's been the most difficult thing that you've done in the last few years? Or like what's been the biggest uh self growth like personal challenge that you've had to overcome?
Um, learning learning the ropes of raising people money. Like it's not fucking easy. Like
Right.
learning how to reach institutional investors, learning like what the actual process looks like. Like we did all of this originally without like knowing or talking to anybody in investment banking.
Right.
It wasn't like we knew what the fuck we were doing, and then we
Mm.
slowly learned. And then now I have people on my team that like crystal clear as day know exactly what they are doing and have done this time and time and time again, and that has in fact been their entire career for the last 25 years. And then you're
Right.
like, well, wow, I was doing this completely wrong, and this thing we were 75% of the way there, and oh, we're actually
Mm.
better at this thing than what you were doing previously. But that
Mm.
process has taken years, and it's still not perfect. And it'll take 20 years to perfect, 15 years to perfect.
So it sounds like you're talking about that from like a very long term perspective now. So it sounds like you kind of like found the thing that you're gonna stick with for a while,
It's
or
the high,
something that you
it's
want
the
to
high,
stick with for a while.
it's the highest leverage thing you can do. And
Right.
so like maybe it will change slightly from like
Hmm.
brokering $1 billion deals or $100 million deals, or like from $10 million deals up to 100 up to $1 billion deals. Uh,
Hmm.
and I think it likely will change from that on a long enough time frame, but it is something that I want to do for a very long time. And
Hmm.
yeah, I can't think of something high leverage with the skills that I currently have. And if you can get really, really, really good at that to the point where
Mm.
you're like Mo Ellis, like one of these big boutique investment banks, like these guys, dude, they're closing like 10 transactions a month, and each one is
Hmm.
worth hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of
Hmm.
dollars. You
Hmm.
know, it's yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
The only way you can get bigger is when you start actually doing the transactions.
So, at what point do you think someone should continue exploring different models and like tweaking what they're doing, and then eventually like double down, triple down, quadruple down on one thing or one service or like one model itself?
I think that's actually a pretty easy. Like while you're doing your thing, also do
Hmm.
whatever you think will work. Never turn the tap off on your main thing because you don't want to be poor. And
Hmm.
then as soon as whatever the other thing is making you more money than what you're previously doing, then that is the vehicle that you should move to, you know,
So, do you think you should just always do that? Like, do that in perpetuity? Always
until you
test
run it.
a new thing on the side and try to
I think
beat it.
so. Yeah.
Interesting.
I
Okay,
mean, that's
cool.
what's led me to do like these micro PE transactions, you know, is like
Right.
I was like, what can I do that's bigger? What can I do that's bigger? How can I get bigger transactions and more
Hmm.
consistent and more constant? And so then
Mm.
I kept doing this thing, you know, and I think the name of the game is be able to get to the point where instead of having to switch, you
Hmm.
can place or sell. That's
Right.
where you gets really good is like when you're early, you have to switch your focus because only you can be doing the task.
Hmm.
But when you get bigger, like, you know, if I still ran my small shitter marketing agency that was, you know, helping people grow their Instagram pages, in
Hmm.
theory, that's still profitable. Maybe not
Hmm.
wildly profitable, but an
Hmm.
additional 50K, 100K a year, right?
Hmm.
Had I known then what I know now, and was I able to, if I was able to place a CEO, well, I could have continued to cash flow that over the last 5 years. And so the name of the
Mm.
game is getting so proficient that you constantly look for a new thing and you
Hmm.
place CEOs in the old thing, you know?
Mm. Sounds like an OB strategy.
It is. That's a bit of a shout out to you, buddy. I never would have I didn't think it was possible at the level that we play at. Like, you know, you hear hire
Yep.
CEO, you think like big
A
corporate
billion dollar
business.
company. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But
Hmm.
when I remember we were at a restaurant and you pulled up, you start telling me about this idea. I'm like, oh fuck, that's pretty good. That's great, actually.
That's
Not
cool.
actually
Yeah.
running this thing. This sounds awesome. You
I
know?
love it. Yeah, super cool. Okay, well, I know you're about to go shooting.
Yep.
Um, so thank you very, very much for the time. Do you have any like last pieces of advice to anyone that's like at that earlier stage in their agency? They don't even know if it's possible. They're just starting to believe that it's possible to build a business that does more than 10, 20,000 a month. But they don't know how to get there. They don't know if they're capable of doing it. Like, what would you say to that person or that young Alex?
Just get the ticket price up. Like, stop playing a
Charge
game.
more, basically.
Charge more.
Well,
Like
yeah.
I can't say that you're necessarily in that 20% camp that is in the right vehicle or you're in the 80% camp that isn't in the right vehicle, but I can
Hmm.
tell you for a fact that if you are doing agency services and you're at, you know, somewhere sub 3 grand tickets, it's completely
Hmm.
a waste of your time. Like
Hmm.
you're never going to build uh, a real business that way with the margins that you need to have from, you know,
Hmm.
paid advertising, unless it's subscription based, I suppose I would say, you know.
Hmm.
But even then, you're likely charging too little. People will likely pay more for what you have to offer, um, and that's like the easiest way to immediately start making more money than I wish I knew earlier. Was like, you know, same thing I was charging $500 for. I probably could have been charging 1,500, 2 grand, 3 grand for, you know,
Right.
or more.
Right. Epic. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for coming on. It was fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Zach. Appreciate it, man.
Let's go. Cheers, Alex. See ya.